Nanorobots inserted into the bloodstream that perform surgeries on their own. That's still science fiction, but researchers at the Max Planck Institute for Intelligent Systems in Stuttgart, Germany, have now gotten one step closer to this vision of the future.
Here in our lab, we developed two kinds of microswimmers or nanoswimmers. One kind is called a microscallop. It uses open and closed motion to swim in non-Newtonian fluid. Another is we call it nanopropeller. So it's a corkscrew structure, and it's very small in nanometer size, and it can translate forward by its rotational motion. The microscallop is 600 micron in length and 300 micron in width. Comparing to a human hair is normally 100 micron in diameter, so it's 3 times a human hair. And the nanopropeller is even smaller. It's at nanometer scale range, so the diameter of the nanopropeller is only 100 nanometer, and the length is 400 nanometer.
The movement of nanoswimmers had the researchers facing a challenge. In water, a Newtonian fluid that is characterized by its linear viscous flow behavior, the microscallop would actually not make any headway thanks to the symmetrical opening and closing.
But the good news is that in our body, our biological fluids are normally non-Newtonian, which means they are most of them has shear thinning effect. Now our scallop take advantage of this shear thinning effect, and it means that we use different speed at opening and closing. In the shear thinning effect, we open fast and close slowly. So in this way, we can use this property to swim forward. And for the nanopropellers, we employ a rotating magnetic field. The rotating magnetic field will cause the nanopropeller to rotate. And because of its helical structure, it will couple the rotating motion to its translational motion. So it will move forward.
The researchers produced the nanoswimmers using a printing process. During the selection of materials, their compatibility was especially important.
For the microscallop, we use first 3D printing and then micromolding technique. That means that we first 3D print the mold, and then we mold polymer material inside the mold. It means that we can use almost all kinds of polymer material that you can mold. In the experiment, I use PDMS, that's polydimethyl siloxane, one kind of siloxane, and that is a silicon material, very soft and biocompatible. For the nanopropellers, we use inorganic materials, for example, silicon dioxide, titanium oxide, or silicon. And for the magnetic material we use in the nanopropeller, we use nickel or cobalt. We have to use inorganic material, and it will be much stable at this nanoscale.
Someday the task force's basic research could lead to an application of the tiny vehicles in medicine.
Ich denke, wir haben eine gewisse Zeit vor uns, bis solche Mikrosysteme tatsächlich zu diagnostischen Maßnahmen im menschlichen Körper eingesetzt werden können. Wir haben erste gute Erfahrungen.
I believe it will take some time before we can actually use such microsystems for diagnostic purposes in the human body. So far, we were able to demonstrate that this is possible in vitro. Now we're on the brink of testing these small particles on eyeballs of pigs. Yet I believe it will still be several years, if not decades, before these approaches will find their way into everyday clinical practice. We're essentially interested in an extreme miniaturization of surgical procedures. This increases surgical effectiveness, reduces operating times, and makes minimally invasive interventions possible. Today, there are already sophisticated medical instruments, for example in neurology, that enable the removal of ureters or kidney stones. However, these interventions always involve anesthesia. Thanks to extreme miniaturization, these interventions could potentially be pain-free and performed without anesthesia on patients someday.
Dinge derartig miniaturisiert werden können, dass diese Eingriffe eben schmerzfrei und ohne Narkose am Menschen durchgeführt werden können.
Even though the researcher's development does not make its way to patients immediately, it still opens up new opportunities for medicine and suggests many possibilities in the future.
Jegliche Spekulation darüber, was diese kleinen Teilchen eines Tages für uns erledigen.
Any speculation on what these tiny particles might someday be able to do for us is science fiction. That is to say, complex surgeries or transporting therapeutic agents against cancer to a designated location using such nanorobots is possibly attainable one day. Yet so far, this is still absolute speculation.